Hi, Solution Partners. This is Austin Birmingham from the Channel Marketing team, and I want to welcome you to the third webinar in this series that we've done in conjunction with the Atlassian Event Marketing team. So I want to introduce everyone to Katie Louie, Kendall Hendricks, and Jesse Rogers, who are going to be presenting today. So first, I'll turn the time over to Katie.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie and I'm here today with Kendall and Jesse. We are on the event marketing content team at Atlassian and we're responsible for content strategy and management across our proprietary and field programs such as Summit and Team Tour. With the shift of events given the current times, we are also managing content for our digital events such as Remote Summit, Remote Work Week, and our Summit webinar series. Today we want to share with you our learnings and best practices for content planning, including how to create an agenda, source speakers, develop presentations, and conduct surveys and measure our success. We will also share learnings from our recent digital events. To start us off, I will pass it on to Kendall, who leads our event content strategy, to talk about how to build your agenda. Take it away, Kendall.
Thanks, Katie. Let's get started with how to create event agendas. Your agenda should align to your overall event objectives, so be sure that you have these clearly defined. Are you launching a new product? Trying to reach more enterprise C-level prospects? Maybe this is a brand awareness or education play. Next, carefully consider your target audience. Who are they? What do they want to hear about? Are you targeting new customers, existing customers? Maybe both. What's their job level? What's their role? Are you targeting a specific industry? Also, if this is an event that you've done before, or similar to a previous event that you've ran, use that registration data and the feedback you collected, plus any other available data points to help determine how you build your agenda and content. Let's also consider some logistical needs. How far are your attendees traveling? Will they be driving or taking mass transit? Be sure that you account for travel time when deciding the start and end time of your events. For example, we start our annual government event located in Washington, D.C. at 8 a.m. so that attendees can avoid rush hour traffic. Make sure to also include enough time for transitions. Consider how long it takes to get from one session to another, taking into account the size of the venue, networking conversations in the hallway, bathroom breaks, and waiting to fill the room before the speaker gets started. We recommend at least 10 to 15 minutes between each session if traveling between rooms, as well as one 15 to 30-minute morning break and an afternoon break for all-day events as well. Another consideration is if there are event sponsors or vendors present. Make sure that there's enough time for attendees to visit with them, like longer meal breaks, as well as networking elements. And be sure that you coordinate with your logistics team to include drinks and snacks for those longer breaks. As for the types of content, we suggest including both lecture and discussion and interaction style of content. Lecture styles include keynotes or breakouts and panels, while interactive styles include workshops, sessions with live Q&A, and roundtables. Programming these different types of sessions throughout the day will ensure that attendees stay engaged. And again, don't forget to align your objectives to the volume of content at your events. What are the key messages that you need to deliver for the different products and audience roles that you want to account for? How does that drive your agenda for the day? If it's a larger multi-day event, how might you categorize your content into tracks or topics? As an example, at Atlassian Summit, we look at our OKRs and go-to-market strategy to help determine what those track categories are. Then we work with each product marketing org to make sure that we source those relevant key topics and themes. So let's use a brand event focused around a new product launch as an example. Start the day with an anchor keynote. Since you most likely have a mix of both existing and new customers, take the opportunity to briefly talk about your brand and your mission, your products and your core services. Then announce that featured product release at a high level. What is it? What's the value and solution it provides to the market? Be sure to include sessions later in the day that dive deeper into your new product. Is there a beta customer that you can highlight and have them share their case study? Be sure that you have a more technical deep dive with demos into that new product. Maybe consider if offering a hands-on lab or training is appropriate and will provide added value for your attendees. Let's take a closer look at a recent enterprise event that we ran as an example of how this agenda comes together. The program was targeted at C-level enterprise customers, and it focused on lead generation. We kept the target number of attendees under 50 so that the event felt intimate and targeted, personally invited. It also offered an opportunity for more personal connections with peers and Atlassians. Our objective was to deliver a thought leadership-driven message, positioning Atlassian products as an enterprise solution. We also wanted to feature external speakers to provide market and industry insights that resonate with those C-level audiences. In this case, that meant an analyst or a regional thought leader speaking to topics like digital transformation, cloud migration, and business agility. We also included customer speakers sharing how they scale Atlassian products and solutions. In some cities, this was a direct customer case studies, and in other cities, it was a panel of several customers. We know that each customer is at their own unique stage and journey to the cloud, so we made sure to offer breakouts for both data center and cloud content. And for this half-day event, the event either started in the morning and ended with a networking lunch, or in the afternoon, followed by a networking reception. We based this off regional preference so that we had the best opportunities to get butts in seats. So now that you have an idea of your agenda and content focus, it's time to find speakers for your event. The volume of content you have will drive how you source those speakers. For a bigger multi-day event like Summit, you may want to run an open call for speakers. For a shorter one-day event, you should rely on internal speakers and your customer pipeline to source potential speakers, maybe as well as an industry analyst or a thought leader, as we just mentioned. But another good example is IT admins. Ensure your speakers have similar roles and job functions so that they can deliver the deep technical content that those admins are looking for. Another example is at Atlassian, we consistently hear that our customers want to know how we use our own tools. So we make sure to include Atlassian case studies at events like Summit and Team Tour. And remember, they want to hear from your customers. Be strategic in sourcing the best customer stories that are relevant to your target audience and event objectives. Lastly, make sure your content resonates with regional audiences. Choose topics, speakers, and customer stories that are locally relevant. So now that you've sourced those speakers, I'm going to turn it back to Katie to talk about developing their presentations.
Thanks, Kendall. Last year, our team worked on creating an Atlassian speaker playbook that includes guidelines on titles and abstracts, speaker bios and headshots, presentation outlines, content creation, and more. With these guidelines, we want to minimize sending multiple emails and provide all of our speakers upfront with all the resources that they need to succeed. For today, we will share a few best practices for titles and abstracts, presentation design, outlines, rehearsals, and additional content resources from our channel marketing team. We will also share our additional resources from our playbook with you after this presentation. Titles and abstracts help attendees understand what topics are being covered and what they can expect from attending a talk. There's only a limited space to create an engaging, eye-catching title and description, so every word counts. Here are some session title tips. Number 1, make them short and concise, but not too vague. 2, be thought-provoking, unique, and descriptive of what your topic is. At the same time, don't try to fit too many details in a title. That's what the abstract is for. Lastly, be mindful of cultural sensitivity. Just because it's a common phrase doesn't mean it should be used. Here are some good examples. The other 8 hours, maximizing productivity for life outside of work. Digital distractions and tech temptations, how to find your focus. As for abstracts, the ideal character count is below 500 characters. There's no need to provide every detail and takeaway from the talk. Think of an abstract as a pitch. Make sure to check for correct grammar, spelling, and punctuation, and try not to use bullet points. Next tip, all abstracts should be written in third person. If you can, leave out job titles in the abstract. The speaker's name, title, and bio should already be displayed with the abstract when the session information is displayed. If necessary, describe the company your speaker comes from in as few words as possible. The key things that attendees will be looking for are: what is this company? What industry are they in? Are they big, small, or medium-sized? The third tip is to start the abstract by defining the problem from the speaker's unique and bold perspective. Address the problem and give the reader an idea of what they will hear or learn about at the talk. And the last tip is to mention concrete examples, key takeaways, and insights attendees will get from coming to your session. Avoid jargon or company-specific terms that outsiders might not understand. Now moving on to presentation design. We want to create a very strong brand affiliation with our presentations, so we always provide a branded title and end slide to our event speakers, like this one, for example, from Summit. We encourage you to consider doing something similar for your events. We also like to emphasize that less is more, meaning over detail. We'll provide some quick tips here. An example of a narrative that prioritizes meaning is sunlight. Sunlight can help illuminate just enough so details are visible. A sunlight room gives the right amount of information to make understanding the space or landscape feel pleasant and natural. On the other hand, a narrative that prioritizes detail is kind of like fluorescent lighting. In this light, you can see every little detail, even more than you need to see. Unfortunately, this will overwhelm and distract your audience, so you want to help your speakers prioritize meaning over detail. Now let's take a look at graphic illustrations. Both of these images are trying to describe the same concept of the challenges of writing about software teams. On the right, we have an illustration that has every detail related to the words. Challenges, writing, technology, software, you name it. By the time the audience has looked at every detail, they have missed everything you said during this time. And as a result, they would have missed your greater point. The image on the left leaves out some detail in favor of greater meaning. It conveys the bigger idea of writing and technology while leaving more room for interpretation. Though the illustration on the left is less specific, it is quicker for the audience to read, and it helps them to understand the information you actually want them to understand. Here's another example. The message here is make Jira your own. But if we place an illustration of a Jira board every time we reference Jira in a presentation, we will end up with Jira boards on all of our slides. It's important to think about, what are you actually trying to communicate? If you think about it, the slide isn't really about Jira by itself. It's about the ability to customize the tool. Showing an illustration like this with the pens could add more to the slide. It's bringing a new perspective to the words without adding confusion. Now, I know that our presentation templates can be overwhelming sometimes with all the different slide designs and illustration usage guidelines. But the good news is the channel marketing team at Atlassian has created the Partner Marketing Center with presentations available to you today. The Partner Marketing Center collateral library currently has 26 event presentation decks that are all editable and customizable. Some have already been translated into multiple languages. Some of the topics include ITSM, DevOps, Data Center, Enterprise, Trello, Status Page, and Cloud. They're all very robust and complete decks designed to be the bulk of the presentation content needed for an event or webinar. We'll share with you a link to the Partner Marketing Center along with this presentation. I will now pass it on to Jessie to talk about outlines and presentation reviews.
Thanks, Katie. Now I'm going to share a few steps we follow to ensure that presentations at events are as good as they can be. Before you receive a speaker's final deck, you should always ask them for a thorough presentation outline, plus a draft deck, so you can provide input well in advance. Some speakers like to build outlines on a shareable page, while others prefer to build them out in a deck, and both options can work. The most important thing is to make sure they have a clear objective for the presentation. There should also be an introduction, a body that supports the objective, and a conclusion to the presentation. It's also critical to understand their timing and how they'll pace out the delivery for maximum impact. Be sure to let them know if the session outline is not matching up with what was promised in both the session title and the abstract. Also, schedule a rehearsal, ideally 2 to 3 weeks before that final presentation is due. You don't want any surprises. Schedule enough time to go through the presentation in full at least once, plus some extra time to discuss it and review any of the rough spots. A video rehearsal is preferable, so you can provide feedback on the speaker's delivery style as well as the content, and they can go back and review the video later on. It's great to include other experts on the topic in the rehearsal as an active audience, and they can also provide extra feedback. And if your budget permits, we also highly recommend hiring a professional speaker coach who can work with the speaker to improve their presentation delivery skills while you focus on helping them with the content. When it's time to collect the final materials, be sure to provide really clear instructions on how to deliver files. Presentations tend to be large, so email delivery is not ideal. Find a file sharing solution you like and create a clear folder structure so there are no doubts as to which presentation is which and everyone can locate the right deck. If you're working with external speakers, make sure you also collect any of the special fonts that they're using, as well as embedded audio and video files. Collect your final decks at least 1 week to 48 hours before the event, depending on how large your event is and how many presentations there are. There are a lot of reasons why late-stage edits can't be accepted. They create version control issues, and files that may need to be preloaded to the presentation systems have to be available. Your AV team at your venue or on your digital platform will also want to do their own testing well before going live. Emphasize to your speakers that last-minute changes are difficult to manage and that they should make sure their files are labeled correctly and delivered on time. Hopefully, after all the great content planning and speaker rehearsals, your speakers are all ready to deliver amazing presentations. Now I'd like to talk about the importance of surveys and metrics. At Atlassian, we rely very heavily on our survey and attendance data as validation points to compare with what we had hoped to achieve and inform how we'll approach future events. We typically create a content recap page after events are over, and we share those results and learnings with the company. There are 2 types of surveys that we recommend. First, there are on-site session-specific surveys. Now, these are surveys that we ask attendees to fill out during the event, either via an event mobile app or a survey form on a digital platform, or even via a paper form. We use the same questions at every event in order to keep our metrics across events consistent. And we keep it to just 3 key questions: a number scale rating for the session, a number scale rating for the speaker, and an open text box for additional comments. Nobody's going to fill out a 10-question form for every session they attend at a busy event. So keeping it brief will increase the number of completed responses you receive. We also utilize post-event surveys. These are surveys that we send out to attendees after the event has wrapped. And we ask more general questions to see how they enjoyed the event overall. We work with our survey team to include questions that ask for input about the types of content attendees would like to see more of, and we'll use those to inform our decisions for future events. Both these types of surveys, during the event and after the event, provide valuable insights that can be applied to planning. Next, I'd like to talk about digital events for a bit. The world we're now navigating is completely new territory, and many of us are not only working remotely, but also experiencing events online that may have previously been held live. Here at Atlassian, we're still perfecting how we deliver digital events. It's going to be an evolving process, but I'm hoping to share some of our key learnings. A few top considerations come into play when you're executing a digital event. First, consider the bandwidth of your audience. I'm sure your inbox and calendar are being flooded with tons of digital event promotions and meetings, and they're all competing for your time and attention. The same is true for your target audience. So be strategic about what you promote. You want to get the best results and deliver the most value to your attendees in exchange for their valuable time. It's also important to keep things interesting. Audience attention span tends to last just 7 minutes before they'll begin to tune out or get distracted. Try changing the mood or your tone of voice as you speak. We also recommend mixing up the speakers, if possible, to keep the audience listening. Also, consider interjecting a visual shift in your slides, like playing a video, inserting an animation, or even just switching from text slides to pictures. You can also use questions and polls and ask the audience to guess the answer or provide their answer to regain their focus and engagement. Use these tactics at intervals to reset the clock on their attention throughout your presentation. Live Q&A also adds great dimension to a presentation and helps attendees to feel connected, both to you and to your subject matter. When offering live Q&A, it's a good idea to prepare a few of your own questions in advance to kick it off. That's just in case your audience is slow to start asking their own questions. We recommend developing 3 questions that allow you to expand on or clarify key points from your presentation. Or they may be questions that come up commonly when you discuss your topic with others. When questions do start coming in from the audience, don't feel pressured to answer them all. Scan them and prioritize the ones that you feel will have the most value to the broader audience and that are most relevant. The better the questions, the more likely your attendees are to keep watching and feel like they got the maximum benefit from your event. A live Q&A session should be kept to under 15 to 20 minutes. It's okay to end earlier if the volume or the quality of questions starts to decrease, or if they stray off topic. Stick with quality above quantity as your standard. And lastly, when you're wrapping up your session, you should also provide contact information or a communication channel or method for the audience to ask additional questions and find out information about your topic and your business. That's it for me today. And now I'm going to turn it back to Katie to wrap things up. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessie. Those are such awesome tips. Now, I know we can talk all day about our content processes at Atlassian, but we also know that each company is unique and you have your own ways of working. If there's something you can take away from today, we hope it's the following. 1, keep your overall event objectives and target audience in mind when you're planning your agenda and selecting sessions. What do they want to hear and learn about? 2, set your speakers up for success. Don't select them and then just sit there and wait for the final presentation to arrive in your inbox. Make sure that they're equipped with the resources that they need and review their content to make sure that it's still what you expected. And don't forget to check out our Partner Marketing Center. And lastly, you can only improve after you've done it the first time. Don't be afraid to test out new ideas, but always survey your attendees afterwards to validate and learn from their feedback. And with that, we wish you the best in planning your upcoming events, whether they're in person, virtual, or hybrid of both. Thank you so much for your time. Take care, stay safe, and have a great day.
This has been super helpful for me, and I hope that partners have enjoyed it as well. Partners, stay tuned. I'll definitely share out the next webinar as we record it next quarter. And thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.